Hi everybody and welcome to week 3 of Talk to TruStack. We have the lovely Sophie Peel with us from Sunderland Software City, who is the business support manager. So today Sophie is going to be talking to you about generic support that you can get for your business. You'll remember from week 1 we had Chris from Muckle giving us advice on working from home. And last week we had Sarah from Insight Healthcare giving us a talk on mental health. And then this week it is support for business. So I'm going to hand over to Sophie and she'll go through a few slides with you. And I might ask questions through this like I did last week. I know, won't throw you off, Sophie, but just to let you know, I'll be, if I don't understand anything, I might just ask you something. But yeah, it'll be an open dialogue between me and Sophie today. So yeah, over to you, Sophie. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Zoe, for having me. I watched the episode last week and it was really good and really informative. I'm like, oh no, mine's going to be completely not like that because, so my name, as Zoe said, is Sophie Peel and I'm the business support manager for Sunderland Software City. And just as a quick overview of us and our organisation, we are basically here to help and support tech and non-digital business as well to really move forward, help grow, develop, and just be a really great part of the North East ecosystem. So today, let's have a little look. Why is that not moving? There we go. So Zoe kind of asked me to talk briefly around the kind of the grants for SMEs. And I'm going to be the bearer of bad news because for grants, it is very much dependent on the business. So if you're an SME, if you're located in Durham versus Newcastle versus Northumberland versus Sunderland, there are different grants open and available to you. It's also depending on what sector you're in, whether you're in, pharma or you're in the tech and digital sector. So I can't give you a specific anybody who's watching needs to apply for grant X, Y, and Z because it is very much depending on who you are, the business that you have, and kind of what the future plans and growth are for the business.
Sophie, so I know we were discussing just briefly before we started the presentation. So SMEs are up to 250?
249 employees.
249 employees. And just because you're in Sunderland, can businesses from obviously Northumberland, North Tyneside, can they come to you as well?
Yes. So under the ARDF programme,
right,
which is the European Regional Development Fund, basically there are different organisations across the North East who can apply to have some ARDF funds. And specifically with Sunderland Software City, we have some funds available to help and support SME businesses. So that's the under 250 employees. And I think now the turnover figure, I'll come back to you on that one because it's, nerves of maybe what the number is. You can edit that bit out. But it's basically for kind of small to medium enterprises within the North East. And for Sunderland Software City, we can help with specific things. So under our ARDF programme, we look to help and support tech businesses in kind of, at the moment, market research, market intelligence, digital marketing, but also helping and supporting businesses to scope out technical platforms that they want to create. So whilst our ARDF funding is 100% fully funded, so that means that our customers wouldn't have to pay upfront for a provider to do, the digital marketing strategy service that we have. Other service providers have different things that they look to do. So people like I'll come on to this later, but different organisations who apply for the ARDF funds will all be working towards these kind of they'll be within these kind of key sectors. So advanced manufacturing, digital, energy, and the health and life sciences. And there are different people across the North East who have little pots of funds available for businesses that they work with. But it is very much based on their own eligibility criteria for it. So predominantly, the eligibility criteria will be North East SME, so an established business who is looking to grow, take on staff, increase their turnover. It's all about increasing the North East as a whole, but in little pockets across the North East. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah, so I guess
I've kind of jumped a little bit to bits coming later that kind of explain.
So I guess if somebody wasn't eligible for maybe your little pot of funding, would you know the right sort of people for them to go to? So say, oh well, you don't quite fit in with ours, but maybe we know somebody, another funding criteria area, somebody else that might be able to help them.
Yes, so I won't be able to say, all of the funds that are out there, but within my kind of sector, which is the digital, I know of people that I can signpost you to.
Yeah.
And just because you've had funding from ourselves, that doesn't mean that you can't then go and have funding from other people as well. And sometimes it works out quite well that actually for a big project, if you break it down into smaller projects, then there may be some funds available out there. So for example, if somebody within Durham is looking to create a platform, a bespoke platform or a bespoke app for their business, but they're not really sure what it is that they want to do, or how to kind of scope out the project and what they needed to do, what their clients needed to do, what the back-end functionality looks like. We, as a fully funded support organisation, can support the scoping out of the project. So there might be our funds to help and support with you being able to do that. So we would pay for somebody to help you really understand that app or that platform. From there, it might be that actually it's a really innovative platform that you're looking to create, and actually there might be some funds from other organisations such as the North East BIC, from Northumberland Business Service, RTC North, Digital Drive, in order to help with the development costs. So it would never be 100% of the development cost, but there might be a small percentage that kind of goes towards it. But each of those organisations has their own form that they need you to complete, different eligibility criteria. Some people, some of the organisations are quite simple and straightforward. For others, if it's a bigger project, then those applications need to go to a bigger panel. So this is why I'm saying it's really difficult to articulate for a lot of businesses at once what funding they can apply for. So what I would say is, for people who don't know what help and support is out there, it can be really overwhelming. However, there is something called the Growth Hub, which is part of the North East LEP, and the North East LEP are the central repository for all things business support. So if you wanted to have a little look on there, and I did this yesterday as I was putting this slide together, and it came up to say that for funding and finance at the moment, there are 75 different pots of funding available for SME businesses out there.
It's quite a lot, really, isn't it? Actually,
it's more than
I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
But coming back to what I said before, not all businesses will be eligible for all of those funds. It will depend on all of the things that were previously discussed. That's now thrown off my what I was going to say for each slide. And again, for somebody, businesses who haven't engaged with the business support that's out there, I also had a look at business support within the North East, and there are 186 results for different people that you can go to within the North East. Now, that really is quite overwhelming, I think, for somebody who's coming in new, who, you know, doesn't know where to start. So what I would say is, when you are looking for grant funding, before you approach anybody for the kind of intricate details, really have a think about what it is that you want to do. As a business, as an organisation, what are your future goals? What are your future plans? Where do you see the business being in 2, 5, 10 years? It doesn't have to be, you know, extreme. You can little bullet points on a bit of paper, but it's really just to get you to think about, particularly in my sector, we don't want people doing tech for tech's sake. There needs to be a reason for it. So really just have a proper think about what it is that you want to do, what you feel is missing within your business, and what the support is going to bring to it. Also, why do you want to do it? So again, that kind of future proofing your business. Have a little think about the budget for a project that you want to do. Ordinarily, there won't be 100% grant funding. So if you're looking for a consultant to come in and do some marketing activities on your behalf, it's very rare that you will get 100% funding. It's usually that they would expect you to put some money in as well. Again, eligibility wise, it might be that if you're based in different parts of the North East, you might get a higher percentage, or you might get a different kind of maximum amount. So what I would say is just have a little think about what you would expect that kind of thing to cost, and realistically what you can afford. It's also pertinent to think about the resource that this is going to take, and also your timeline, because actually sometimes, particularly if you're, you know, developing a new piece of software, things can run over, and what's that gonna do around impact on the business and how many people you're taking away from their day jobs in order to do the project. So again, just start documenting all these little things about realistically when you want to do things and when you want things complete by. I'd also say kind of get the buy-in from the employees. So think about, you know, why, ask them what will make their lives easier in the job that they do. And that will then mean that you have more positive buy-in from the people who are going to be potentially using I'm coming at it from a digital point of view and the software side of things, but it's really difficult to try and force employees into using a new system, a new platform, when they haven't had any, they don't feel that they've necessarily had the opportunity to say what it is that they want and where the bottlenecks are, and what really kind of makes their working day dull.
I also think with stuff like that, I mean, obviously your employees are in the business day to day, they know what's happening. You might not think of, I mean, even when we do stuff like, for example, like the website, you know, I tend to get an opinion from every single department in our business and customers and potential customers, because whilst, you know, I'm sitting here going, oh, this would be really good, this would be really great, you know, 9 times out of 10 someone will go, did you think about this? Because we have this thing that we like to do, or we have this issue. And I'm like, oh, no, I didn't think of that, because I'm not doing what you're doing on a daily basis. And like, I get what you mean. You need buy-in to sort of, if it's a new app, if it's a new platform, you know, what's going to make their life a bit easier. That's really what tech is about, isn't it? You know, making people's lives easier. So I completely agree with that. I think that's a good one that, a lot of people probably don't think about.
Yeah, because I think, you know, I think we were saying this before the call, but the greatest asset, it's so cheesy, the greatest asset is the people and the employees, and you don't want to hoof people by trying to force technology onto them when they don't necessarily understand the impact that it's going to have on them. So I think just having those open and frank discussions with employees, and also clients, if it's going to be a piece of, software or something that could impact them. I think just having those communication channels, it just makes it, if there are any unexpected hiccups, that at least people have been kind of pre-warned. I think so. Yeah. So I guess the same thing. So what are the benefits and the positive impacts from doing this piece of work, and not just thinking about it in terms of numbers and figures and bottom lines, which are completely important, but also the whole holistic piece and how actually it could improve communication between different departments who aren't necessarily working together. They're working in silos. So yeah, all those kinds of things to be thinking about. I'd also come at it from, what are the consequences if we don't do this? So if we continue as we are without embracing, again, I'm coming at it from a technology point of view, but embracing technology and future-proofing, I think we've seen, the impact from those businesses who weren't technical or digital before COVID happened, and they were kind of, scrambling in the first few months to find a way to work and find that equilibrium again. So it's just, whilst I'm not saying that that's going to hopefully not happen again, it's just having a little think about what positives are going to be gleaned from it, and if you don't do it, what the consequences going to be. And I'd also say kind of do your research and be really nosy, see what other people are doing. If you're thinking about getting a new website or a new app, have a little look at what other people's websites look like. Have a look at other apps. What are people charging? What kind of colours are being used? I know I saw something this morning that was talking about self-scan checkouts and how the user, if the preferred method is card payment, but actually when you go to use it, cash is selected and you have to go and touch the card, like a little button.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, actually you're having, even though they're saying that they prefer contactless,
Mm-hmm.
actually the user has to go in and change the settings of the screen in order to make it. So it was a really interesting thing that, it's not necessarily going to be right every time. But what I would say is you can use what other people have done before you and understand elements that maybe you could improve on.
Oh yeah, all about looking at other people's things and just thinking, what could we do? Yeah, like, as a person in marketing, no one reinvents the wheel. It's all about what somebody's done before. Can we replicate it? Can we do it better? Maybe. Can we spot the flaws that maybe they didn't think about? Yeah, I'm all about that, definitely. And I'd agree, do your research, especially when you mentioned websites and apps and stuff. Things that you think about after, or you see that someone else has done after, and you're like, why didn't I just do a little bit more? Why didn't I just do a bit more digging? Because it would have saved a lot of headaches afterwards. So I definitely think, research is key. Yeah,
I think, again, the really good service that we have, the functional specification, we always say to do research before you go down that path. So think about what it is that you would want it to do, what your clients would want it to do, really how they would interact and react to certain things. Do you have in your head, wireframes or screens and how it's going to look, and have a think about the customer journey on that they go through on the different screens, and get your friends and family to do the same. Obviously, with a little bit of they're obviously going to tell you all the nice bits, but I think just asking some trusted people. But yourself, it's that kind of gut instinct of, if you see somebody else's website and you think, oh, that looks really, really good, or that function's really pertinent and it'll fit in well with kind of what it is that we've got planned. Even if you're in a completely different sector to what the website or the app is doing and advertising, it's the functionality. All of the words and the pretty pictures and the colours can be changed and moved, but the functionality and what you can do is really where that's at. Sorry, I know that this is coming from a kind of a tech tech and digital angle. So I do apologise for all those viewers who were aren't in that space. Yeah, so if you've decided, right, okay, this is what I want to do, where do you go? Okay, so I would say good first port of call is your local authority business support team. So like I said before, the ARDF patch, so to speak, is from Berwick all the way down to the bottom of County Durham. So within that space, that's kind of the whole North East LEP. Unfortunately, Tees Valley kind of falls outside of the North East LEP remit. And there are different priorities and different grants and support that are available through local authorities. So just have a little think if you're in Durham, Northumberland, Sunderland, just, have a little chat with them. I know a few of the guys, particularly in the Sunderland area, really good, really supportive. And if there is help and support there, they will look to help you through it. So yeah, it's just being open to having those conversations and chats. Like I said before, there is 70, did I say 75 or 76? 75, I think.
Yeah, I think 75.
Yeah, so this is the site that you need to go to. So it's called the North East Growth Hub. And basically, like I said before, they are the central place to go. It is their responsibility and their job to know what funds are out there, what grants, what's happening on the ground. And they basically have this really great online portal that you can go into, find out it. You can filter it down. So obviously, if you say that you're in the Durham area and you're looking for digital grants or whatever, you can then start to filter it down, so you don't have to wade through all 75. There's also a really great team of they're called North East Connectors, and I think there's about 8 or 10 of them, I think, and basically it's one-to-one support. So being that that friendly ear around what it is that you want to do, and just being able to signpost you to the right organisations who are going to be able to potentially, or say potentially, help and support. I'd also say another great spot if you don't want to speak to people, or you want to kind of look for the bigger finance, you can have a look at the Gov UK website. Really, again, you can filter it down, some really great information on there. Not to blow our own trumpets, but independent and impartial business support services like Sunderland Software City, we have the ARDF programme that runs, like I say, from Berwick all the way down the bottom of County Durham. We've also got a digital adoption team who work on the Digital Pathfinders programme, which is north of the Tyne. There's always new and exciting pots of funds that kind of come up. So even if you spoke to somebody, 2 years ago, it might just be worth, reaching out to business support services. So people like Sunderland Software City, the big, like I said, RTC North, Northumberland Business Service, just to understand what they have available, and how they've changed their support services based on, what's happening in the Northeast.
Sophie, do the grants change all the time? Is there like a sort of time limit on them, or how does that work?
So again, each business will have their own eligibility criteria, and they will have different timeframes and timelines. So, for example, Sunderland Software City, our ARDF programme, we were due to finish in March 2021, but we got an extension to March 2023. So we've got another 2 years of support that we can give to businesses in that time. Right. So the support that we give is, and again, with all of the great independent business support services that are out there, it's free, confidential, and it's that impartial bit, because I would say your own network, because there are so many great people that you meet out and about, you build relationships, you build connections with, but they might they might have certain rationale or relationships with different people. So it's always best just to take on board what your networks are saying, but also to just double check. So say if somebody's saying to you, oh, you need to speak to such and such, they're a great developer, they'll do a great job for you. We always say that, you know, get a minimum of 3 quotes. Really don't just rely on the word of one person within your network, because actually it might be that they're really close, so that developers put in kind of extra hours or whatever. And yeah, so I always think it's good to trust your network. And if you're hearing a lot of people mention one, say, developer, for instance, then you've got more trust in that recommendation. But I would say that, yeah, approach all that with just, yeah, a little bit of a pinch of salt, just to be on the safe side. And do make sure that you are doing due diligence around, you know, timelines. Again, this all comes back to that pre-preparing what it is that you want to do, so that you're going in with a clear idea, so that you're not being overcharged or people adding in bits and pieces within, you know, say from a developer's point of view, adding in bits and pieces that actually you or your customers aren't going to use. So it's just a way, yeah.
Just being prepared, doing the research.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, so that's really key for me. And what I would say is, before you spend any money, any money at all, speak to somebody, either from the local authority, independent support business service, or somebody who's gone through the process, just because there might be help and support, there might be funds, there might be grants. So before you sign up to anything, please do just ask the question, because it's always worth asking. As within the ERDF programme, you are allowed up to €200,000 over a 3-year period. So as long as you kind of don't go over that limit, there is potential support out there, but like I say, all around kind of eligibility and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, normally if it's quite a big amount that you're applying for, so say the development of an app, because of the percentage and the money amount that they're putting in, they will normally ask you to have 3 quotes from 3 providers anyway. But even if you decide not to go down the grant route, we would always say just have the conversations with a few people anyway, just to be on the safe side, and a range of people as well. So, you know, somebody who's a sole trader, somebody who maybe works for, you know, a large agency, just so that you understand the different sides of the spectrum and what you're going to get from each side, because obviously there's pros and cons that come with each. So yeah, I said this was going to be 10 minutes and I've just realised the time. Okay, so some really quick basics. Speak to the team who manage the funds if possible. They are the experts around their eligibility, what they would be looking for, and they are there to help and support you. So yeah, speak to the team if possible. Read through the whole application form. It just gives you an idea of where different things are going to be going, and kind of seeing the whole application form holistically, as opposed to writing in, you know, depending on which grant you're going for, whole reams of information that actually are more suitable to a different part. So I would say before you start writing things, read through the whole application form and get all the evidence that you need to hand. So if you are looking for further ERDF grants, you will need to indicate what other ERDF and de minimis state aid you've had previously. Because like I say, you've got that €200,000. So it's just to make sure that you're not going over that. Spending the time, the care and the effort to really sell your business and the future plan, because for the grants and the funding that are out there, they want to see that there's going to be an impact from the money that they're spending in your business. So they want to see that you're increasing your turnover, that you're increasing, full-time employees, that you're making a difference. And if you can say, actually, I've spent some time and effort in putting this projection together, it just makes you look like you're more prepared, as opposed to just filling in a form in 10 minutes. And yeah, you can tell there is a difference when people have put the time and the effort into it. Continue to ask questions if you don't understand a section. So going back to the first point, to make sure that you've got that open dialogue with the team who manage the funds. And please proofread it. There's nothing worse than when you're reading an application form and it doesn't actually make sense. Sentences aren't coherent, and it's again that coming back to the time and the care and the effort. On that, use plain English. Obviously, we all, particularly within the digital and tech sector, there's a lot of jargon. Depending on which grant you're going for, sometimes it can be, so for the Innovate UK grant, I think the panel, there are people who aren't necessarily technical. So if possible, try and use plain English just to get your point across. Don't overcomplicate it, and stick to the word count. If you've been given a word count, it's there for a reason. Yeah, please don't go over it. And then the final one, submit it before any deadline. This is such, I feel awful saying it because, it's such a common sense thing. If there's a deadline, get it in beforehand. But the number of times that I've had people submit things to me that have fallen outside of the deadline, and unfortunately, as an ERDF program, anything that's after the deadline, we just can't read. So if there is a deadline, please do try and stick to it. And just on that point, if for whatever reason you're traveling to somewhere in Europe or abroad and you're going to be doing this while you're there, if you're on holiday or whatever, just be aware of time zones and the difference that can have. So yeah, just a little hint there if anybody does manage to get away. That's kind of it. I know I said it was only going to be 10 minutes, and I was like, oh God, like what am I going to say? But yeah, I then went on a ramble. So
yeah, no, that's great. Thanks, Sophie. I mean, just to say to people watching this, I mean, we've had funding from you guys before. It's really straightforward. I think it's straightforward once you speak to somebody about it.
Mm-hmm.
So once you engage with you guys at Sunderland Software City, or like you said, the BIC or RTC, I think once you talk to I think doing that then makes it a lot easier, because you know what's available to you, you know what you can go for. Obviously you can be walked through the form if you need to be walked through the form. You guys are there to help businesses. But yeah, I think a lot of people just don't, a lot of companies that we work with just don't know what's there and what's available. So yeah, definitely encourage people to reach out to you guys, and if you need anything, we've got your details. Mm-hmm. We can pass things on to people. More than happy to do that. But yeah, no, I think it's great. Thank you.
It's absolutely that point of different people like to receive information in different ways, and I think that's what's great about. In some ways, it is so overwhelming that there is so much information out there, but there's also the ability to talk to people, and everybody within the business support community wants businesses to do well. And yes, if there is that funding there to help and support their growth, then we will look to help and support. But obviously, sometimes our hands are tied a little bit around what eligibility criteria that we have from different funders. So I would always say, if anything doesn't make sense, or you just want a bit of a chat, just a quick general overview of how does the land lie, then yeah, by all means, happy for anybody to come and chat to me, or yeah, I think we're all happy to help, because we're all quite nosy and want to know what's happening out there, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I think just run anything by you guys, like whatever project you're doing, like you say, you know, there might be funding for it. Just run a quick idea, and then you guys easily know straight away whether you're like, no, probably not, or but maybe if you did it this way, there might be something
involved. Are you coming? No, she's off.
So yeah, just run anything by you guys. You'll be able to say yes or no straight away. I can imagine for most things.
Yeah, and it's again that signposting. So I know, okay, if you're in the digital tech sector, if you're in this kind of patch or this area, then it might be worth speaking to X, Y, and Z. And I know it can sometimes be like, oh, I'm speaking to loads of different people, but it's really in order to ensure that you're getting the most support that you can, because there is so much out there from a business support point of view that actually some of the information that I have in my Rolodex in my head might be out of date. It might be superseded by a different fund with different eligibility criteria, and I don't like to say, oh, you'll definitely get X, Y, Z percentage, because actually I can't say that, because it is dependent on the business. But yeah, hopefully that there's a few little bits and pieces in there that yeah, people can use, and like you say, if there is anything, by all means drop me an email, or if they want to come straight to you, and then you can refer them through.
Perfect. Oh, thanks, Sophie. Thanks for chatting to me today anyway. And yeah, like we said, if you need anything, get in touch with Sophie, get in touch with TruStack. We can point you, more than happy to. But yeah, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks now. Bye.